welcome back. And as you know, we put the roast in the oven, and it has been cooking about 6 to 8 hours. And now I'm getting ready to put the roast, the potatoes, and the carrots into it. And I wanted to show you there's a little bit of a different way of cutting the carrots and the potatoes. When you have the smaller size that we are using, you want to have probably about 1.5 pounds of carrots. You want to have about maybe 2 to 3 pounds of potatoes. What I've done is I've peeled the potatoes, I've peeled the carrots, and carrots are harder than potatoes, so they take longer to cook. And when we put the carrots down into the gravy, that's how we're going to put it. We want to make them a little thinner than the potatoes because you're going to have the meat and the carrots, the gravy, and then the potatoes rounded on top. So the potatoes are going to be kind of steamed. The carrots are going to be down in the gravy. And what you want is not to have a real thick carrot like this because it may not cook all the way through. You want to have it cut a little thinner. Now this was the end of this carrot, so I cut this end off, and this size is just about right. This one is a little thick, and what I've done is some of the other thicker pieces I've cut into smaller pieces. As you can see, we're going to cut the thick, be very careful. We're going to cut that thick part into 4 smaller pieces, and then it'll cook a lot faster, and you have more to serve people, and you'll have a better flavor. So now we're going to get to the roast. We're going to make the gravy, take the meat out, make the gravy, and put all of this in there. So we'll get right back to you in just a minute. Thank you. Okay, now we are set up. I have the roast out of the oven, and once I got it out of the oven, I turned the oven up to 400. You want it to be nice and warm by the time this gets all ready. Now what I did was I took the meat out, and it comes out in several pieces depending on the kind of roast it is, and that doesn't hurt a bit. It's going to be delicious. And as you can see, a lot of the breading that we put the bread and the seasoning on top of it has come off, but that's okay. It's delicious. It is down inside this gravy. Now this is just juice. It's not gravy yet. So we're going to make it into gravy. Now this, what I did was I turned the burner on to about medium. You want it warm, but you don't want it so hot that it's going to cook it too fast. You want it cooked low and slow. Now what we're going to do is add thickening to this to make it turn itself into gravy. Now some gravies, like the white gravy, has milk in it. This is the brown kind of gravy. It will be kind of creamy colored, but it is only the water and the juice from the meat. So now we're going to add the thickening. And the way I was taught, my grandmother taught my mother. My grandmother was from the late 1800s and early 1900s, and this is the old original ways that people would cook. They didn't have gravy mixes and packets, and so what they would do is they would make their own, and that's what I want you to learn how to do, is make your very own. We live out in the country, and it's hard to get to town if you don't have some certain item to finish your meal out with. So you learn how to do the old-fashioned way so that you can do everything with just the basics. That's what I want you to learn. Now, this is flour, just regular white flour. We're going to add water to it, and we're going to make kind of a creamy, thick, looking paste. In just a minute, we're going to stir this up. This is called a whip, and this also helps to get all of the lumps out. Now what I'm doing is I'm letting that juice get bubbly, not real fast boiling. If it gets real fast boiling, you want to turn it low or off for a little bit. You don't want it cooking too fast. then we're going to stir these lumps up. As you can see, the lumps are going away. We may want to add a little bit more flour. It doesn't have to be extremely thick, and your gravy is going to look kind of runny in a way because it finishes cooking in the oven. Now your oven is preheating up to 400. After we put all of this together, we're going to cook the roast potatoes and carrots in the gravy for 2 more hours, and then you'll have the most delicious supper. I will show you the end result after this comes out of the oven, but right now we're going to be making this gravy. Now it's kind of a light, thick, creamy. It's not real thick. It's a little bit runny, a few lumps left in there, and it's just a simple little bowl. Any little cereal bowl will work. And as you can see, it's bubbling gently. That's what we want. It's not a huge popping, crackling boil. No, we want just a gentle little bubbling. All right. Now this looks about right. Now what I'm going to do is, if you can see, we're going to pour this in and stir at the same time. The reason is so that it won't turn into lumps immediately. You don't want it to turn into lumps. If you see a few little white lumps floating around in there, don't worry about it, because it will fix itself while it's cooking in the oven. Also, some of that may have been the coating that was on the meat, so it really won't hurt, and it'll be absolutely delicious. We're going to stir this around. Now you can tell it's still pretty runny, but it's going to be thicker. There's a few lumps. You're going to get those lumps out and stir it around. Now we're going to let it slowly simmer, boil just for a few minutes, and we're going to turn it off. We don't really want to finish the gravy right now. If we were making this into regular gravy to eat right now, we would make it thicker and we would continue cooking for just a little while. But we're not. We're going to let the oven do its magic with the meat and all this sort of thing. So as you can see, it's getting stirred around in there. Now there's a little meat pieces, which is fabulous. Some little brown crunchy that came off the meat, that's fine. Don't worry. It all is delicious. Now I'm going to turn the burner off. Okay. Now, what we want to do is to taste this. We're going to keep our whip. I'm going to put it on a little paper towel. And we're going to continue to stir and taste this, but not cook it anymore. We're just going to season it right now. I'm going to get a spoon. Be right back. Now for seasoning, you can use the salt and pepper like I used before, which is fine. I have been using Nature Seasonings for many years. It is delicious. So you can try either way. Now I'm going to pour out of the big spout because I know about how much I'm going to use. Now when you're seasoning your gravy, you taste it as you go along so that you don't get too much pepper or too much salt or not enough, possibly. Now we're going to taste this and we're going to see if it is the right season. Alright, now I'm going to taste this. This is a clean spoon. I haven't licked off of it yet, so we're going to taste it, blow on it. It does need a little bit more, so I'm going to put a little bit more in. We are going to add just a tad more. We are going to stir it up. and then we're going to taste it again. Now, if it tends to have, this has quite a bit of pepper. If you need a little more salt but not more pepper, you can add the regular sea salt to this, and that is fine. I've done that many, many times. So I'm going to get back with you in just a minute. Hey, we're back. I had to stop for a minute because my husband drove in on the tractor, and the 8-week-old puppy was serenading us again, so I had to get her off of the stairs. Okay, we are back to seasoning the gravy. Now, what we're going to do is we added a little bit more of the nature seasoning. Then there's one other ingredient we're going to add. Now, this is a spoon. I'm going to put it into that spoon, and then I'm going to taste this one. Okay. Now, it is perfect except there is one other item that is very unusual but out of this world delicious. And remember, we put sugar on the meat. We're going to put a teeny bit of sugar in the gravy. I know that sounds weird, but once you try it, you'll forever have a little bit of sugar. This is 1/8 of a cup. I'll probably only use about half of that or less. So I'm going to sprinkle the sugar in, and I barely used maybe a tablespoon. We'll use the whisk. We're going to stir these back together. We're going to get it all mixed up. Our household is very muchly a real household. This is my real kitchen. I've cooked in this kitchen since I was a young girl. And so if you hear things going on, don't worry about it. We'll get right back to you, so it's okay. All right, now we're going to taste this gravy again. This is the clean spoon I got. Again, just another spoon. I'm going to pour it into the one I'm tasting. Okay, now we're going to taste it with just a teensy bit of sugar. That's it. Maybe 1 tablespoon of sugar is all I added to it. But it's perfect. Absolutely delicious. All right. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to put the meat back in here. And this is the onion that we cooked with it. I'm going to put it back in here, and I will be right with you. Yeah, back in just a minute. Okay, now I've got the meat back into the gravy. There was a little juice left over, so I poured it right in there. Now we're going to add the carrots. And if you can, try to scoop the meat over as much. Now, when the meat is soft like this, and it will melt in your mouth, when it's soft, it may come apart in a few pieces, and that doesn't hurt. Don't worry about that. That just makes it even better. We're going to take the cut up carrots and put them in the end where the meat is not, so we can get down into the gravy. We're going to let these carrots cook in that gravy. Out of this world. Now, there's something else that I want you to know, is that sometimes the gravy tends to get a little too thick. You may have cooked it a little bit too long, or may not, the size pan may have made it a little bit different. And you can always add just a teensy bit of water, stir it a little bit, and it'll be perfect. Okay, we've got the carrots in. Now we're going to put the potatoes in, and I want to show you that I didn't leave. Some of the potatoes are a little big around, and I'm going to place them on top, but you don't want the extra thick potatoes because they won't cook right. Now what I've done with some of the really thick ones is cut them in half longwise. Here's a smaller potato. I like to use the smaller potatoes because each person can get like 1 potato at a time and cut it all up, pour gravy on it, delicious. Okay, here's one that's cut in half. We're going to, there's some little ones in there. I'm not that big of a big eater, and so I like to have the little smaller ones, smaller potatoes. This is one that I kind of cut longwise like that. Now, as you can tell, this gravy is getting pretty full. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick in just a minute. See, here's a half one. Now we want to lay this on the top as much as possible. Okay, here's one that's cut in half. Okay. Now, it's almost too full, as you can see. What I'm going to do is to get a spoon and dip out some of the gravy. And you can always add it later. So you won't have it spilling over in the oven while it's cooking, but you'll still have a little extra gravy. So I'll be right back with you with the spoon, and we will, okay, this spoon is kind of a thin, kind of scoop it out a little bit. So we're going to be real careful like that. You kind of take your spoon and kind of mash it down in and get some of that gravy out. I have a metal bowl because it doesn't melt the bowl if you have a plastic bowl. Be careful though, it gets awfully hot. All right, I had to stop for a minute. My husband was coming in from the field on his tractor. Now I want to show you, you won't believe how much gravy we got out, but we will save it and pour it back on top of the roast. I promise you, it will be delicious. We still have this much gravy. Now we're going to use more of the nature seasoning. I'm going to sprinkle this on top. It makes it pretty and it seasons it so nice. Now hopefully this lid isn't too hot. We're going to put this lid back on. We're going to slide it into the oven at 400, and it may be done in an hour and a half. We will try looking at it at an hour and a half. If it's not quite ready, we will go for 2 hours. But I will show you the finished result. It's going to be beautiful. Thank you for staying with the roast, and I can't wait to hear from you about your roast. Okay, we will be back. I'll put this in. Okay, it has been 90 minutes that I've had it in the oven for the 400 oven, and the roast is finished. And let's see what it looks like. It is going to be delicious. Okay, always open the lid that direction. Now look at that delicious roast. Absolutely delicious. And when you're serving it to your people, you can serve it with some spoons, and you dip the potatoes and the carrots, and you can dip down in there to get the meat, and it is delicious. So I'm going to let you go, and we are going to enjoy roast potatoes and carrots. And as you can see, the meat is right down in there, delicious. Absolutely. Here's some of that beautiful meat that we're going to put on our plates. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and also go to the other sites where the Gmail and the YouTube and the Facebook, and also don't forget to subscribe and touch the little bell so that you can be notified when there are more videos. Thank you. Love you guys. Bye-bye. I had a few more minutes left on the video, so I wanted to show you this plate with delicious, the gravy is perfect, poured over the potatoes and the meat and the carrots. So I hope you would enjoy your food, and let me know how your roast potatoes and carrots turn out. And if there's anything else that you would like to have, that you would like to see on this program, just write to me and let me know what you want to see. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.